Hey everyone, welcome to the Fireside Chat number 22 on Crushing Classical, redefining a thriving classical music career. I'm Tracy Friedlander, and today we are diving into a really fascinating concept, a new way of looking at setting and reaching goals in your life. What you'll hear on this podcast is a totally new perspective. When I first wrapped my brain around it, it made me look at my goals that I have now in a totally different light, and it really showed me something about my previous failures. Getting this information is actually crucial to setting a whole new framework for reaching the things you want in life. So often, setting goals can be scary. There are so many unknowns. What if you don't achieve it? What if you fail? This is what makes them challenging. We talk about the best way to take those factors out of the equation. What you'll hear today is a new way of looking at it that can actually make working toward a goal, whether it's a huge career goal or a small achievement that you want to make, more enjoyable or, dare I say, fun. But before we begin, a couple of quick things. Please join the conversation at facebook.com/crushingclassical as well as Crushing Classical on Instagram. If you love our content, it would mean the world to us if you would comment and share it with your classical musician friends and colleagues. Let's get started. Hey, Aileen, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. So we're talking about a really awesome topic today, and I'm going to start out by telling you a little story from the end of last week. So we recorded the Fireside Chat, and it was awesome. It came out last Sunday. It was Mary Javian.
hmm
And Eileen listened back and she said, geez, while we were recording, there was this fan sound and it would come and go and we didn't know what it was. And then listening back, sometimes it got extremely loud. And we don't know if it was from the recording software or from one of our
Yeah, we have no
computers or,
idea.
yeah. And,
There's a
I
lot of
am,
technology issues that happen with podcasts, just so you know.
uh,
I mean, for
I can't,
people listening, there's just
yeah.
you just have technology issues, and they happen pretty fairly regularly.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I wouldn't say that I enjoy technology. I've become a
No, it's
lot
a
more
pain in the ass.
advanced.
No, it's a
Yeah.
total pain in the ass.
I've become way more advanced with computers since starting this thing. So I'm
Yeah,
grateful for that. But the other thing is I just want stuff to work,
yeah,
just like everybody,
I
you
feel
know?
that way too. Mhm.
So listening back, I'm like, oh no, I have to do something about this because we can't put it out like that. It's so annoying. So I have this friend and his interview is actually coming out. By the time this one comes out, it will have come out on Thursday.
Right.
He's a composer and does a lot of work with computers and everything and editing. And so he's helped me a couple of times, Alex. And I texted Alex and I'm like, we have a problem. Can you help me? And I emailed it or I sent him the Dropbox
And
file.
actually, it was kind of late when it went out to him.
Yeah, it was like Friday.
Well, yeah, and actually, that's my fault because I should have contacted you and I really didn't think there was anything we could do about it. And so I should have contacted you when I listened back on Wednesday and said, hey, we've got like a serious sound problem on this recording, you know.
Yeah.
And so all of a
Well,
sudden it
now
was
you know
Friday.
for
So
next time.
no, but seriously, I take full responsibility for that. All of a sudden it was Friday, and we were like, oh shit, are we gonna do something about this? you
Yeah.
know so suddenly we were under there was a deadline, is my point.
Yeah.
you know
Which I love deadlines.
I know how
Jeez.
much you love those.
Yeah. So, so I contacted Alex and I'm kind of like really nervous because I feel bad. He's my friend and he does a lot of stuff for us without asking us for any money. And then I'm going, can you do this? And can you do it really fast? And I know it's the weekend and can you do it really fast? Well, he's great. And he was like, I'm really busy. He called me on Saturday. He's like, I have a lot of stuff going on today, but I can look at it tonight. I can look at it like 7 or 8 tonight. And then he texts me. And then on top of it, I was doing a cleanse and I had to go to bed at 10 p.m.
Right.
So,
That's right.
so I'm like, can you get it before 10 or and so long story short, that's not really even the point. The point is that earlier in the afternoon on Saturday, so I'm going, I don't know if I don't know if this episode is coming out. And I didn't post that it was coming out because I
Right.
was
Because
scared it wasn't going to
normally,
come out.
yeah, normally Tracy does a post on Saturday morning, either Friday morning or Saturday morning, that says what's coming out on Sunday for the Fireside Chat.
Yeah, so Eileen texts me, why, hey, I noticed the post didn't come out. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
because
it
I always
didn't.
look for the posts. Like, I look for that we're announcing things. It's just a habit now.
Yeah. And so
And I thought it was
So Eileen,
weird that she didn't post it. I thought maybe, honestly, you know what? I thought maybe you scheduled it and it just didn't go out. Like maybe it got scheduled at the wrong time. That's actually what I thought happened.
okay.
Hmm.
So I go, oh shoot, I didn't do it. And I was thinking about other things last night. I was thinking about this episode and I was thinking about something else that happened in the week that was bothering me. And I was taking care of that right before bed on Friday and I just didn't do it. So it was half like I just forgot and the other half was I was scared it wasn't going to come out. Um, so I said, all right, I'll post it right now. And then after I did that, we talked and Eileen said,
Hmm.
actually, and this isn't the first time. Actually, you know what? This isn't the first time you introduced me to games, but this is the first time you explained games to me. Because
Okay.
earlier in the week we did a post about conductors and asking everybody who their favorite conductor is that people might not know about.
Right. Like a conductor that I mean, and anyone who's listening to this, in real time knows what we're talking about. We said, who is a conductor that you've played under that either nobody knows about or very few people know about,
Yeah.
you know?
And we wanted it to be the kind of post that strikes up a conversation because we just want to that's more fun. Actually, it's just really more
It
fun when
is. It's more
Facebook.
fun when you guys comment, when you guys add something to the conversation. It just
Yeah.
makes a huge difference.
So Eileen said, let's make it a game. Let's see how many people we can get to share it and comment on it.
Yeah. So we just,
And
yeah. That's really how that started was,
yeah, and Facebook algorithms are such that, majority of the people that follow us on Crushing Classical Facebook page might not even see it. So we were
right.
like, let's reach out to some friends and let them know that this post is there and see if they'll comment and share it. So that's what we did. And she goes, it's a game. Let's see how many people. And then a day later, she's like, Eileen says to me, what's your game on it? How many likes and shares do you want to have on it?
Right.
For the game. And I'm like, okay, I don't really know what you're talking about, but okay, it's a game. Just like when you said, let's do the 100-day, just like when you shared a post with me about someone else who was doing a 100-day meditation challenge and you said, you want to play this game with me. And I'm going, when Eileen wants to play a game, it's not like a relaxing game of checkers. It's like
Right.
the stakes.
It's like
Like
checkers
earlier,
with the board on fire.
yeah, like how fast can you do this? And if you burn yourself, you owe me $1,000.
Right.
So
Sure. I
it's
like the big risky game.
yeah. And
Sure.
so when she says you want to play a game with me, I like shit my pants just a little bit.
Right. I
And
know.
so
You're not the
so
only
she's
one.
talking
Seriously, I mean, you're not the only person who said that too about playing games with me. They're like, I don't want to play a game with her.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
trust your
I don't want to
games.
play a game with her. Yeah. No, I get it.
So so then she so then you called me up on Saturday and you said, um, I want to talk about games. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of like what we did with the post. And you're like, yeah, but let me explain it to you.
Yeah.
And
Because I
now I'll let you
realized at this
explain it.
point, I had not explained games to her, like what a game is really for me.
Right, for how you play games.
Yeah.
And so this is where you should explain how you play or
Yeah.
how what you think of as a game.
Okay. So, and by the way, I learned about games a long time ago. I mean, I've done a lot of training. I've done a lot of like I've been trained a lot, and so games were introduced to me, a long time ago. And then once I learned how to play games, I taught other people how to play games. And so that's why games are like a thing that I just do. It's kind of like just how my life runs. And I really enjoy games, and I'll explain what they are, but I really enjoy this thing called games because it makes life interesting and it also makes it fun. I find that most of the time we get too serious about the goals that we have or the things we want to accomplish. And it's very, I don't like it to be dark. I think we make everything too serious and too dark. And oh my God, if we don't make it happen, what's going to happen
Yeah.
if we don't win it, and that's not really what games are. And so what I said was, and, I said it to Tracy, excuse me, I had to get some coffee.
I was like, where'd you go?
I just had like my throat was getting a little dry. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so a game is like, you can, it's kind of like you say what you want the outcome to be of a particular thing. So it could be anything. It could be, in our case, I'll just use the post as an example because it's the really simplest thing. We had this post about conductors you may not have heard of kind of thing. and what, you know, it's literally a game. It's not an attachment to a result, but it's a game. So, how many comments? This is what I said to Tracy. How many comments are we going to shoot for? And I let her play the game. Like I had her play the game. I did participate in it because I wanted to help the stats, but I just kind of left it with her. How many comments do you want to produce on the post, and how many shares do you want the post to get, and by when? So by what day and time do you want your game to be done? So a game is you declare whatever the outcome is, and it's usually tangible, something you can measure. So in our case, it was number of comments and number of shares. And then by a certain day at a certain time. So let's say by, Thursday at 5 p.m. or something like that. And so that was the game. And I remember when I asked Tracy about this, and Tracy, you can speak to this, but she was very hesitant to commit to a number.
I didn't make it, yeah, and I didn't know what to say. So
Right.
I put it kind of low, and then you said that's not really a very.
Well, she came up with some really low numbers. I think we had 23 comments at the time. I'm making this up. I could be wrong. I think it was around 20 or 20 something.
No, it was a lot less. We only had maybe 12 comments at that point.
Okay. And maybe I was counting replies in the 20. Maybe that's what
Oh,
I was
could be.
thinking.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if I should count replies
Yeah,
because there were a
yeah,
lot of replies and
totally.
I replied. So I don't know,
Totally.
that's
Yeah, no, I
me.
get that.
So
And honestly, you can, she could have decided to include replies or not. It wouldn't matter. Like comment replies where somebody comments and other people reply to that comment. That's what we mean by comment replies. And so, I think it was around 20 total comments, including replies. And then, so she was basically agreeing to get 2 extra shares and maybe 5 extra comments or something.
yeah,
We had like 2 or 3 days. I think it was 2 days. And
2 days.
I said, that's a small game. Why don't you bump up the game a little bit? So the purpose of a game is it has to be something you have to reach for. That's really, you have to think about a game that way. The point is not to win the game. I think that's where everybody gets games wrong. The point is not to win the game. The point is to play the game, and you get what you get at the end of it. You're going to win the game or you're going to lose the game.
Mm.
It's not, there's nothing wrong either way. There's nothing right about winning it, and there's nothing wrong with losing it. The point is to play the game all the way through to completion. That's the point.
And
And
try the entire time. You don't decide, like the point also is to not decide when you think you've
that's
lost.
right. That's the hardest thing about playing games is, so let's say the game that you're playing, let's just use this as an example. Let's say you're playing a game for something tangible, and the due date, the completion time or date is like Thursday at 5 p.m.
That's what
So,
it was
and
exactly.
that's what it was, I think, for this post. And so
Yeah.
what's interesting though is this is what you're going to find out something about yourself is when it's Thursday at noon and you're not winning the game. Let's say you've only got, you promised you were going to get 10 more comments and you promised you were going to get 4 more shares, but you only got 2 more comments so far and you only got 1 share. So you're short all that. So what's interesting about it, it's not about whether you're going to win the game. It's who are you in the moment at Thursday at 12 p.m. To are you going to quit the game on Thursday at 12 p.m. and say I lost, or are you going to play the game the next 4 hours to win it? This is what's so
Right.
interesting about human beings. You can learn so much about yourself by how you play these kinds of games.
Yeah.
And by the way, I played many of these games, and I'm talking like this is years ago when I was getting trained. And what I learned about myself at that time, and the thing that I've worked on ever since, is that I quit the game in my head. My humanity is I quit the game in my head long before it's over.
That's what I did.
Yep, and
It's
it's
like
very common. Yeah,
Thursday mid-morning to afternoon, like noon or early afternoon. I'm like,
I already lost.
this isn't even going to happen.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that's what's so interesting is how you can improve. I mean, as a human, as a results producer, as an anything, is to improve how you play games. If you just do that, you will change your results immensely in your life.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this in terms of taking auditions,
Yep.
um, because that's the majority of work I did in my career before crushing classical,
Okay, so
you
so
know?
give me this is such a great example. So give me one audition and tell me how you just let's say the audition was a game. So like
Hmm.
from the time that you decided to take the audition, that's when the game began. So pick one
Oh, okay.
audition. That's actually when the game begins, is when you say, I'm taking an audition. What you're really saying when you say I'm taking an audition is I'm going to win that audition. You don't really get that that's what you're saying, but if you're taking an audition, that's really what you're sort of saying is I am. And I wish people would say I'm going to win that audition as a game, as a real game, instead of I'm going to take that audition and hope I win. That's actually not a game that game would not empower me at all.
Yeah, and I think I rarely took an audition where I said I'm gonna win.
Okay, so so this is another way that you play games. And by the way, this is not just a conversation for Tracy. Everyone who's listening here, there is you written all over this. Okay, so
Yeah.
Tracy, don't be embarrassed by what I'm about to say to you.
No,
So
okay.
how you play games right now, and just if you look in your life, you might see this is true. How you play games is you decide at the front that you've lost or that you're not going to win.
I'll tell you, there's I'll tell you something interesting about when I took auditions and when I did well enough to win and when I didn't.
Tell me. I need
Um
to know. I am.
when I was taking auditions that were jobs I really wanted because they were big five and they had huge, in my eyes, huge paychecks.
Hmm.
Um, I lost before I went
Hmm.
because I don't know if, I knew that the stakes were much higher. I knew that there was going to be, I perceived that there were going to be way better players there, even though there were always the same players and same colleagues at every audition that I went to. For some reason, I thought, that the committee would be way harder and all these other things. And then when I took the two auditions that I won slash almost won, I won Virginia and then I was the runner up for North Carolina. So that's basically, I was qualified to have that job.
Hmm.
And the audition went totally different. It was almost like I said, I never proclaimed I'm going to win this. I never ever proclaimed that, which is maybe the humble thing that musicians do. Oh, I never want to.
Actually, I don't think it's humble. I think it's avoiding taking responsibility for the audition.
Probably. And so, but I had more confidence.
Okay.
I was like, I could get this. Really, I could.
Okay, so I could get this was how you approached it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not this is mine and this isn't going any other way.
Hmm.
You know?
Yep. Yep. And it's interesting because if you really think about it, a lot of the reason why people don't achieve in life is because of they've already decided that they won't or they can't or whatever in their mind. So
Hmm.
the game is won. This is what I was teaching Tracy. The game is actually won in your mind. It's long before the actions you take for it. So if there's something you want, you actually have to, it has to be in your mind. I am going to win this game. Like I am going to win this game. You have to, if you want to win the game, it starts in your mind is my point. I'm not saying you're going to win the game. I am saying that in order to win the game, it starts in your mind.
Okay.
There's no
And so
guarantee that you're going to win the game, but it
so we
starts in your mind.
it starts in your mind. I totally get that.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that you had mentioned a little while ago was being attached to the outcome.
Yeah.
So you have to do it without being attached to the outcome because that's what makes you judge yourself as a bad person or a failure or whatever if you don't win the game.
Yeah. So the thing that I see most often is people get, it's one thing to be committed to the result of a game, like winning a game. It's another thing to be attached to the result of the game. So an
Hmm.
attachment is, and you have to imagine this, like a leech, like the bug, the leech, like like in the water, a leech,
Totally. Yeah.
Leech. So you know, those things, if you're in muddy water in certain parts of the world, they'll attach themselves to your skin,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very difficult to get off. So when you think of attachment, you want to think of it that way. It is attachment means that you've now attached it to yourself as if there's some value that you are or are not because you did or didn't win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some value, you as a person, you as a success or not, you as you know, as a human being. If you don't, it's like the winning the game is like one of your legs or one of your toes. And if you don't win the game, you lose the leg or you lose the toe. That's the problem. You can't go into games like that. Games, you can be committed to the result, but not so much that you get attached to it, that it's part of your, you start to identify with it as, I mean, almost like it's your identity if you win or you don't.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes it scary to commit to playing a game if you think of it that way.
If you think of it, yeah, if you think there's some measure, some value, I lose games all the time and there's no value. I mean, it doesn't reduce my value as a human being because I'm not
Mm-hmm.
attached to the win. I'm committed to it. I'm committed to it. And here's the other thing. What most people will say, if they lose a game, they'll go, well, I lost and I did the best I could. Actually, no. If you didn't win a game, this is kind of a harsh perspective, but you have to, if you're really playing games, you want to think of it this way because it's actually really empowering if you think about how responsible you are for winning a game or not. Is if you lose a game, all you have to do is look back and see when you quit the game. There was a point when you quit the game. You stopped playing. You stopped
Wow.
playing
So
the game.
this is taking full responsibility
That's
for
right.
this is revolutionizing the way I'm thinking about all my past auditions. Like
Isn't it?
if you really, yeah, if you really look,
Yep.
there's a
There's a
point
moment.
where you got distracted by your thoughts or you
You
decided
decided,
that,
yeah, or something happened and you were like, I can't anyway, or it's a
yeah, or
moment. It's just a moment. It's such a quick moment.
it could be after the first time that you chip a note.
That's right.
You can decide,
hmm
I'm done.
hmm
They don't care about me anymore. And that's not even true, but you just decided
You
it. You
decided
just
it
foiled the whole
the
thing.
minute it happened. So you're in round one and you chip a note and immediately you're like, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out. You have to understand. That's why I keep telling you, I keep repeating this on this call. Games are one in the mind. They're only one in the mind. Your, your actions obviously have to follow. I'm not saying the actions aren't important. I'm saying the game is one in the mind. If you lose it in your mind, this is why you have to build your mind so much. Because if you don't, anything will take you out. Your physical will take you out if you haven't decided.
Mm-hmm.
Every time it'll take you out. And by the way, this is not easy. I'm not saying that this is easy. I think it's fun though. If you can begin to see, it's a game. If you can begin to see it as something enjoyable to do, and if you can detach yourself from, the identity or I lost or I failed or whatever, I'm not a good human being. Like if you can get rid of all that, you can actually enjoy playing games.
Mm-hmm.
It's a blast. And you can think of anything as a game.
Yeah.
Anything. I don't care. You can do games in your relationship. You can do games with your pets, like training your dog, you know?
So this came up on Saturday because you said it's a game that we're going to get that episode out.
Yeah,
And
that's
we got
right.
to be committed to the result of getting it out.
Right. So what happened was, this is why it came up, because Tracy didn't post about the episode on Saturday morning the way she normally does. And I said, you have to post about it. And she's like, but what if it doesn't come out? And I said, so you've already decided that it's not going to come out. You've already decided we lost the game, and we haven't lost the game. I
Mm-hmm.
said, what if this really was a game? I am right now that the episode is coming out. So let's just say for a minute that, and I think at this point, Alex had not gotten back to her yet. Isn't that
No,
right?
right. He had said that we talked at like around noon and he said he would get back to me by 6 or 7. So I hadn't I hadn't heard from him if he had done anything to the audio yet at
Right.
all.
So at the time we talked on Saturday, she was very unsure about the status of all this. And
Hmm.
I said to her, so, and this is, I want you to, get something, everyone who's listening, get something out of this. So I said, okay, let's just say for a minute. First of all, let's decide that the episode's coming up, that there is an episode. I don't care if it's Alex's or something else, because we've recorded other episodes. So, um, you know, if it's not Alex's recording, what else can go out? Let's just say or sorry, it was Mary's episode.
Mary.
It was
Yeah.
Mary's episode. So I said, if we had recorded another Fireside, so it wasn't like we were dead in the water. It wasn't the
Hmm.
only one we had, is my point. And so I said, okay, so let's just say for a minute that Alex doesn't get back to you. Let's say he doesn't get back to you all day. What would be the next action you would take to solve this problem? This audio problem that we had. And she told me I would contact so and so. Okay, and I said, great. And would he help you? Yes, he would. Okay, great. So the truth is you can win the game. There's not one way to win a game. You have to be more committed to winning the game than you are to how the game is won.
Hmm.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
So you were the reason why you thought you weren't going to win the game is because you were attached to how the game was won. If you gave
Yeah.
up your attachment to how the game was won, you could still win the game.
Right.
See that?
Yeah, well, I did also say, I could try my editing skills and see what,
Yeah.
I had a couple ideas of that too.
Yeah, no, you could have,
Worst case
right? That was
scenario.
another thing you said was, well, I could also try and split the tracks and I could, try and take some of the, it was like a
Yeah. But
whooshing.
honestly, I didn't know how to combine them back together again.
Yeah,
So
well,
that,
and that's the problem is, if you're not, we're not like audio geniuses over here.
yeah, I think last night I was processing a podcast episode and I was thinking, I wonder if people would laugh at what I'm doing right now, if like they were super audio people,
Sure.
as far as the equipment I use.
Yeah,
But it
sure.
worked.
Yeah.
So who cares?
As long as it
Yeah.
works, and I mean,
Yeah.
these are those things that you work out when you're, learning how to run a podcast. But,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but I mean, but that's the whole point though, is you got to be more committed to actually winning the game than you are to how the game is won. And I
That
think
makes
that's where
sense.
people get really caught up is, well, I only see it going this way. Well, that's your problem. Your problem is you're not open to another way of solving whatever your problem is to win the game.
Hmm.
And also again, the game is won in your mind.
Right. And so there's been games that you've played that don't even involve you. It's just people in your life that you want.
That's
This
right.
is what's something interesting that I thought. So let's talk about some examples for games. Like I've been thinking about that since we decided to do this fireside on games. I've been
Mhm.
thinking about what kind of games I want to play in my life. And
Mhm.
I was thinking about it during my meditation and I came up with a whole bunch of cool things. And so it's interesting because the stuff I came up with is kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, okay, so I'll give you a game that I've got.
Okay. Okay.
And I have many games going on at once. And by the way, some of the games are games that I'm not necessarily doing anything like there's no action behind it, but I've decided that some outcome is going to get produced in a certain amount of time or at some point in the future. So a good example is, and this is a game I'm doing literally nothing about, is I decided, my brother works for a company and his daughter is going to go to college. I think she's a junior right now.
Hmm.
So she has one more year. So right now it's summer, right? So I think she's walking into her senior year.
Okay.
And, you know, college is expensive. Okay. Let's be clear. And she
Yeah.
really wants to go to New York University, which I don't need to tell
Wow.
you. Yeah. When he told me that, I almost had a coronary. Because really, it's just expensive.
Hmm.
So I decided, I created a game in my mind that he is going to get promoted to a position at his company that allows him, like by the end of this year, I said, so by the end of December, that will allow him to pay for college, no problem. Like he has the tuition money, no problem.
Okay. So you're putting it out there.
I have decided that I'm playing that game in my mind, actively playing it in my mind. that that's going to happen. And by the way, a lot of things have happened since I declared that game. He's already moved into a different department. He's moved into the marketing department, and he's probably 2 steps away from being the head of marketing at the company.
Get out.
Swear.
When did you decide that game was happening?
When he told me about New York University, which was about 2 months ago.
Dang.
Well, because I'm sorry, but that's like the impossible tuition. I mean,
Right.
I
And
looked
you
it
know
up.
what?
I went and looked it up just so I knew what game I was playing.
Oh, and how much is it per year?
I mean, if you include room and board, it's going to be, around 70,000
Wow.
for out of state,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
I included books. I mean, like I actually sat down with a calculator and
Dang.
figured it out. Yep. And so, because I needed to know my target, right? If you're going to play a game, you got to know the target. So I created it and I decided what his salary is going to be and the whole thing.
I love that.
I did. And I'm waiting. I'm playing the game in my mind as if we've won the game. He doesn't even know this. I haven't told him.
Hmm.
And so, and that probably sounds ridiculous. Like, how can you play a game and say it's for somebody else? I play games all the time for other people.
And have you seen success with those games as far
Oh,
as not,
absolutely.
okay.
I mean, I had success with one of yours.
Yeah, I know. You tell me about
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I'm even playing some games for Tracy that she doesn't know about. Um, I'm obviously playing games for myself, but I'm playing games for a lot of people. People I care about.
So do you think about the games during your meditations, or do you just think of them just whenever you think of that person during the day?
I do think of it whenever I think of that person. But I think what's important about it is my intention is so high about the game. I never quit on those games. My intention is always very high. I have decided that I'm going to win that game, whatever that game is. And I don't quit on the game in my mind. That's what's so important about games. You can't quit on
Hmm.
the game in your mind. In your mind, you cannot
That
quit on the
makes
game.
sense.
You're not going to look. Here's what's interesting about it. If you quit on the game, here's why you can't quit on the game. Because a good example is that recording for Mary Javian when when you didn't know how to solve the problem. If you've decided that you're not going to win that game, then any opportunity that shows up to help you win the game won't look like an opportunity to you
Hmm.
because you've already lost the game. Do you get that?
Yeah.
So some listener, I'm just going to make this up. Some listener could reach out to you and say, and with a testimonial on private message, Crushing Classical, and say, "Hey, Tracy, I just wanted to say I love your da da da. I'm an audio engineer, and I la 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 la, and I just want you to know I think this is amazing, and I too am crafting my career, and blah blah blah." And see, if I had a problem to solve called "I'm going to lose this game," I'd look and go, "Audio engineer, what?" And I'd reach out to him and go, "Hey, listen, I've got this problem. Can you like swipe in here and help me out with this audio? I need it done today. Can you help me out?" Because and
Hmm.
you wouldn't see that though. You wouldn't see that the audio engineer who just reached out to you was the solution to your game because you already lost the game in your mind. You wouldn't see that.
Yeah. And it's easy not to see things when you're not looking, when
That's
you're
my
not,
point. You see why it's
yeah.
so, that's why you have to decide you won the game because you will not see opportunities to win the game if you decided you lost it already.
Right.
You see that?
Hmm.
That's why it matters so much that you decide to win it. You've already won it
Right.
because there's not one way to win a game. There are many ways to win a game. And by the way, many a game has been won in the 11th hour.
Yeah, totally. And you know what I was just thinking about this. You know what this will help with
What's that?
is the ups and downs that you have during a game. Like if you've already declared you're winning,
Hmm.
you say I'm winning this game.
Yep.
Then when you have something that happens, which is inevitable during a game, like
Yeah.
say
All the time.
say you're practicing for an
Stuff
audition,
goes
just use that
wrong.
as example.
Hmm.
You know, you don't decide that you've lost the game if you have a bad practice session or you have a bad lesson or even if you chip the note.
Yep.
I've heard tons of people tell stories about how they won auditions and their auditions weren't perfect.
Yep.
You know,
Happens all the time.
um, happens all the time. And I'm just using that as an example because it's the most actual games I've played that I lost in my mind now that I see what I'm looking at, you know. But it just makes me think of this whole project of Crushing Classical. I feel, how I feel about it is that I want it to be huge. And if I proclaim that as an actual game, then on days that I have lows, I won't feel like I've lost
Yeah.
because I'll know
You'll
that it's
say
just
this is what winning a
this is
game
part
looks
of
like.
yeah. So tell me about that because that's what you were saying that really made my jaw drop when we were talking
Yeah.
about this last Saturday.
Yeah. So,
You were saying this is what winning a game looks like. Even when you had something happen that was shitty,
yeah.
you would be like,
Because shitty things happen when you're playing games. I mean, that's just
yeah,
how, not everything goes right. And you have to be prepared for setbacks because they do happen. They happen all the time when you're playing games. Things, they don't go as planned. They go wrong, whatever you want to say. So, yeah, so you're playing a game. Let's say, oh, I mean, a good example. Let's use that post as an example because I think it's a good example. You let's, let's just, I remember you reached out to, I don't know, 40 or 50 people or something, right? Privately.
yeah.
And so she was reaching out to people to ask them to please comment on the post and, share it if they felt, compelled to do that. I did the same thing. I reached out to some people and, but she got more non-responses than she got responses. And that's kind of normal. But, when you're playing a game, you want everyone to play with you and you're excited, right? And then,
Mhm.
you send out 40 messages and you get, 4 messages back, right? I'm making
Yeah,
that number up. It doesn't matter how many it is, but that right there, that's an immediate, that's a place you could decide that you lost the game.
totally.
That's a place you could decide, okay, it's over. Nobody gives a crap about my game,
Right. Or people would respond in the message, the
Oh
answer to
yeah.
the
They respond in the message instead of posting another post, which happened a
yeah,
lot, by the way.
yeah. And I have to be like, thank you. And can you use that link I sent along
Right,
with
yeah.
it?
Or like I had a guy write me back and say, well, I think you could rephrase this a little bit. You're like, remember? I had a guy
Yeah.
like he
Oh
actually
my
wanted
Lord.
us to change the wording of the post. And I said, no, we're not going to change the wording of the post. It's just fine the way that it is. And so
Yeah.
it was just, it's so typical. It's just typical classical musician finicky pickiness, nitpicking over the language because we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And
Yeah. Oh my God.
but here's the thing. When that happens, this is the virtue of a game. This is what's so great about it is when you're failing is when you have to declare this is what winning a game looks like. Losing a game is actually winning a game. But you have to look at it that way. You have to look at this setback is part of what the process is to win a game. Like this setback, all these setbacks, all these no's I'm getting, all these non-responses I'm getting, all this. Oh, I guess I just have to email 40 more people. Oh, I guess I have to take another tactic. Maybe I need to message these 5 people and ask them to ask 5 people they know. Like, how are you going to win the game? You have to begin to see your setbacks as part of winning the game. That's part
Hmm.
of the mindset you have to take on if you want to win a game.
That makes sense because as you're going along, it make it revolutionizes the chances of winning if you view that fail
Yeah,
or that setback as how am I going to rethink this? So
that's
like
right.
if in real time you miss a note in your audition and you remind yourself you're winning that game,
Yep,
you won't start giving up and missing more notes.
that's right.
You'll double down
Totally. You'll double
and you'll
down.
blow them away and they won't remember that you missed a note.
That's right.
But if you keep reminding them that you missed a note by the crappy playing that you do after that missed note, then
That's exactly
then you've
right.
lost.
And it's all
So
determined by your head. It's all in your head, the whole thing.
all in your head. And you know what I love about this concept is that how many times have we heard this stuff like um with regards to auditioning? It's 90% mental and you hear all these little phrases. You hear all
Hmm.
these just sort of buzzwords and phrases, and you go, yeah, I don't know what to do about that. It doesn't give you enough hands-on, you know, things to, in order to, I mean, if you know that an audition is 90% mental, but that's the only thing you've read or whatever,
Hmm.
then how's that going to help you? Then you just go, oh, my mental status is, forget it. It's not, then you don't know what to do about it,
Right.
is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. And, I really try when I talk to people about this, I really try and speak about it in a way that's not what I'm going to call woo woo. I
Exactly.
think people can get really woo woo about this. There's probably people listening to this right now who go, oh, that's the law of attraction. That's the secret. You know,
Yeah.
what are some other things people say? That's um, there's like, a lot of personal development words for this, what I'm describing.
Manifesting.
Yeah, manifesting. Thank you. That's the word I was trying to think of. And so I don't use those words because they don't speak to me, I guess. They don't communicate.
Well, they're not practical.
They're not practical, and I tend to be very practical, but I'm also logical. This is not a woo woo concept.
Hmm.
If you actually practice it, and it is a practice, I'll give you that. You will see that what I'm saying is true for you. And again, you have to go try this for yourself and see if what I'm saying is true. Nothing that I'm saying is absolute. You have to try it for yourself and make it work for yourself. I'm giving you tools. And that's
Hmm.
how you should think of this as a tool. This is a tool for me. It's a tool for me. I used to be, when I was growing up, I don't know, I would say like a disappointing experience as a child. And so I found myself in my 20s being a bit of a curmudgeon. And I really was. I was a curmudgeon. And um, I didn't actually like who I was at that time. And I'm still very logical. I'm still very practical. I crack jokes about how much I don't care about clothes and jewelry and shoes. And that's still true. And so I make fun of myself about how practical and logical I am, but I really try and be that about everything. But I also, I be a realist, but I don't want to be negative.
Uh-huh.
This is not meant to be negative. It's meant to be, I need something like games. This is why I use it to this day, because I need something like games to keep my intention high when life is telling me that I'm losing. Because that's how life feels a lot, is you feel like you're losing. No
Hmm.
matter how hard you try, you feel like you're not doing enough. This is the human being of everybody. I never feel like I'm doing enough. I always feel like I should be doing more.
Mm.
I never feel like it's ever going to be over. Like,
Oh my
you know what
God.
I mean?
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean? I just never. Every day I wake up, I'm never enough for myself, really,
I know.
and it's hard.
I know. I'm getting ready to go on a trip and I feel like, oh my God.
I know. That's the worst. Going on a trip is like heart attack. That's like heart attack mode for me. What? I can't leave my life for 4 days or whatever.
Yeah. And like now it's funny because I have my phone and I get notified, people get back to me on an email or Facebook
Sure.
message, or someone reaches out to me saying they're interested in the hot seat or something. I want to act on that. I want to get it scheduled. I
Yes.
want to do this. I want to do that. Even when I'm at the pool watching my daughter swim
Yeah,
or
I get
something.
it.
It's
I
like, I
totally get
gotta
it.
stop. I
Yeah.
gotta take a break sometimes and enjoy my life.
And that's hard to do.
Really hard. I was thinking the other day, if I was single, I would probably work from the moment I woke up to the, it's just because I feel like, oh, at least I can further things. And when I'm not doing that, I feel like I'm not doing anything. But what, one thing you just said to me, which made me feel a lot better about the trip, is when you get away from all the stuff that you're doing every day, it gives you a
Correct.
chance to think about the games you want to play.
Yes. The best
And
time,
so,
that's the best time to create games, by the way, is when you're not in the grind.
right. And so this is a good time for this episode to come out because it's still summer and a lot of people in music are either they're doing some summer activity like a festival or they're taking a break.
Hmm.
And it's a great time to think of games. And so you said that you don't always proclaim the games aloud and tell
No,
people and everything. You have a
no.
lot of games that you just play
Well,
inside your head.
do you realize, like, if I told my brother what this game is that I'm playing right now in my mind,
He would have a lot of things to say about it.
yeah, he would be like, yeah, well, he'd have a lot of things to say about it, none of which I want to hear, honestly.
I know,
I mean,
right?
I'm not trying to be a
He
jerk,
would
but
tell you the reasons why it's
yeah,
not.
well, that's because corporate America works really slowly, and it's just, and I don't care about all that because in my mind, I'm going to win the game. I don't
Hmm.
care how slowly corporate moves. I know that my intention can move corporate. That's what I know. And so I just stick with that. So I don't
Hmm.
share all my games in fact, I don't share many of them. And I don't because the criticism, there's no reason for me to take criticism for an intention I'm holding for myself or
Hmm.
for someone else. And
Yeah.
I don't need anyone to approve of my game or validate my game or what. I don't need
Right.
that. I don't need that.
Right.
Yeah. So no, I don't tell people a lot of my games. I haven't, I didn't tell you some of the games I was playing for you in my
Hmm.
mind. And then of course, we won one this year, or I say we, I won. I mean, we both did, but I won a game this year that was for you, and then I told you about it recently.
Yeah. And I
And
was like,
I know,
what? No
right? You were
way.
like, and I remember I didn't tell you at the time when we won the game. I didn't tell you because I felt like it wasn't the right time for me to share that with you.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like you would understand it.
Yeah.
This
I think you were right.
it's a heady concept what I'm talking about
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And there's probably people who are listening to this going, this girl has lost her marbles. Really. I mean, there's probably really, and that's fine. Like you do not have to utilize all the things that I am going to lay down on these calls. I'm not
Right.
expecting that. I am offering you a set of tools and you can use them or not. It's up to you.
Right. I mean, it's not mandatory that you play games for other people, but when you do it for yourself,
Ah, yeah.
it can
You can
really
find out so
revolutionize
much
things.
about yourself and the way that I mean, if you are not getting what you want in life, play a game and look at how you play it. Like,
Hmm.
observe yourself playing the game and you will understand why you're not getting what you want. And by the way, you have to do many games to get better at playing games.
Yes, you do. And you also have to, when you start to observe yourself, which is something I've started to do in the past year, it's tough.
It is hard. It is. Because you can be
So,
so brutal with yourself too when you look at, you know what I mean? Like you can look at how you
yeah.
play a game and go, "Oh my God, I suck."
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's so easy to go there. And that's what that's why you want to practice playing games because you want to get better at, again, separating who you are as a human from how you play games. It's two different things. You're not a
Hmm.
better or worse human for how you play games. It just is showing you how effective or ineffective you are currently. And then where do you want to take ground?
Yep.
That's all it is. And, you're going to wake up tomorrow, hopefully. We all hope that. And you're going to have another shot. So why not create a game that pulls you forward, that you're inspired by, that empowers you? That's the kind of game you want to play. There's
Exactly.
many games,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I play them.
I love it. Well, this concept is so fascinating to me, and
I'll
I
be
never
interested in your
thought of things.
feedback
Yeah, I will be too.
on what people
And
say.
if anyone decides to play a particular game and they want to proclaim that they're doing that, please, say it in the group.
Yeah, come to the Classical
Ella.
Cats group and say it. It's a private group, so
Yeah,
it's only us. It's not, and other people in the Russian classical world. It's not public. It's not a public
yeah,
group. So
exactly. And you can ask questions in there too if there's
yeah,
something you don't get about it.
yeah. If you don't understand something about games, post in there and I'll answer the questions. I mean, anything you want to know, I'll
Yeah,
happily
because I had
answer.
a lot of questions when you first introduced it to me. My biggest question was the thing about attachments because it's really hard. That's I think the hardest thing is to separate that the result is it says something about who you are, and I think that's why why I have been sort of hesitant to make games in my life.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
not
totally.
necessarily that I was familiar with the concept, but that's why they scare me, I guess, you
Yeah,
know?
totally. And also, um, it sounds to me like when you were auditioning, there was never a time when when you played an actual game where auditions
No.
were concerned. You never actually played one and decided you were going to win, in other words.
No, I went in with hopes, I
Yep.
went in with, I hope I play well enough to advance or win. And, sometimes the game for me was, I want to advance. And then I would advance and go, okay, now I never thought about what happens after that, like that's so stupid. But when you not advance so many times in a row, it just comes to be, I just want to advance because I just want some validation. But then if that happens, you clearly see that you weren't thinking big enough when you advance and you're like, now
Yep.
I got to keep going,
Yep.
you know,
That's why you have to have that bigger game.
bigger
You
game.
got to have a bigger game that pulls you, I mean, your bigger game could have been, I am going to win a spot in a top five orchestra. I'm just making this up. I'm going to win a spot in a top five orchestra. And you could have won, let's say, uh, fourth horn in, I'm going to make Detroit Symphony, let's say.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if is Detroit a top five?
No, no.
And it's not
It's like
considered
it's
right
right
below.
below that. Yeah.
But if you think about it, that's still an arrival on the way to the destination, which is I'm going to win a top
Mm-hmm.
five. So you
Exactly.
see what I mean? Like you have to have a game. There, ideally, you have an overarching game, and then you've got games you're playing up to the game that you ultimately want to win.
Yeah.
And then once you arrive at the top five, then you create a new game.
Uh-huh.
An ultimate game.
Right, right.
So anyway,
And we talked about arrivals on a different fireside actually. So
actually,
this
yeah, it
that's
was
kind of a
the one before this one, I think.
yeah.
Talked about arrivals.
Yeah. So that kind of yeah, there's a little bit of connection there. So
There
that's
is.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the idea of arrivals because it's just
So much better than being done.
yeah. And then it gives you you know, like you're not done, but you have something to go to,
Hmm.
and then you're continuing on. It's like a layover.
Yeah. A layover. I'll give it a new name. Layover. Your luggage will be at your destination.
Your baggage will be
Your
there.
baggage will be there. Don't worry, it'll be there waiting for you.
Your baggage will always be there. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, this was a great talk, Eileen. I loved it, and we love hearing from you. We love your messages, so please reach out and tell us what you think. Write a review on iTunes. That's always awesome. And we'll see you on Facebook. We'll see you on Crushing Classical and Instagram. And thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.